So the protagonist feeling so much uncomfortable the whole night he was not sleep, and whenever he get lay down on the bed, he was his heart was full of heaviness, and he was not able to take the breath. So that is why he was seated there. The whole night was going like that, and so then in the next morning, this then took him to the Branch Medical College. The next, it was new and looked at like a monastery with a door which led to the large courtyard. They went to the dark and cold consulting room filled by a Tibetan doctors who wore nothing kind of random articles which he expected. He was wearing a thick pullover and the woolen hat. He asked him a few questions while feeling his veins. He told the driver that it is cold and he had an effect due to cold and altitude change. He gave him some medicines and reassured him that he will be able to do the Kora. The Tibetan doctor gave him a 5 days course also, and he came out with a brown envelope which has a 15 screws of paper. After having breakfast, he opened, and after breakfast, a packet which had a brown powder which he had to take with the hot water. It tasted like a cinnamon, and the lunchtime, the bedtime packages were nearly the same. They looked like a sheep dung. Both had a small spherical brown package. They took in full day's medicine and he slept peacefully at night. Tristan left him to the drench when he came out know that he is going to be fine. He told him the Buddhist that he had passed away. It would not matter, but it would bad for business. Next day, Trench wasn't looking so bad. It was a dusty, partial running, ruined, and had loads to rubber and refuse everywhere. The brightly shining sun in the blue sky gave him the vision of Himalaya. Gurala Mandhata. He was able to see the little bit with clouds suspended over it. So the Drench had some basic general stories telling the Chinese soap, cigarette, and string of the prayer flags. Even afternoon, they gathered for the game of pool. They would sit around the shabby table, looking strange in the open air while women washing their hairs in the icy water of the small stream which followed all the way of his guest house. He was having difficulty sleeping, which hadn't made it easy for him. So he had no option other than to until wait the peak season of pilgrimage. The trails was much frequented by the travelers. He could do Kora alone, but it was a seasonal session because of the route blockages by the snow. He had no idea if the snow was clear, and he was not feeling good about the dirty ice that still reside on the bank of the Dranchens small stream. He had been facing the communication problem since Stan left. No one knew much English to answer his basic questions. He met the Norbu in a cafe, which has a small, dark, and vast long metal stove. He waltzed the ceiling, where twisted in the multicolored plastic sheet of the different colored stripes. It was made into the fun, a big shop, bags which were sold over China and in the many other countries of the Asia and Europe. Plastics was a Chinese successful export along to the Silk Road. There was a cafe, which is the only window could see the notebook clearly and would also bring the novel with him to pass time. Norby once saw his book and asked if he could sit opposite him an unstable table. He asked him for the English after he ordered tea. He told him that he was in English. The protagonist guessed that he must not be a local as he was wearing a wind cheater and the metal rimmed spectacles, which were in the Western style. Norby was a Tibetan who worked in the Beijing at the Chinese Academy of the Social Sciences, the Institute of the Ethnic Literature. Norby told him that he had come from the to do the Kora. The protagonist was happy. Norby was writing academic papers on the Kailash Kora and its importance in the various Buddhist literature works. He had never done the Kora himself. So the Norby was excited when he got to know why the protagonist was in the dredge. He said that they could be team who are two academists who escaped from the library. The protagonist believed his positive thinking strategy was working, and Norby was also staying in the guest house like him, and the Norby was ill-equipped like him. Norby kept him tell he was too dull. So originally, the protagonist predicted that the trek would be good in the company of any deep believed believer, but he found Norbu to be an ideal partner. They decided to hire some yaks to carry their luggage, and he had no intention of lying down flat over the mountain. Norbu finally said it is not possible for him. While he collapsed across the table, laughing hilariously, his tummy was also to the deck. So he was just doing the fun that he was not able to be walk like the writer.